Dudes, it's Gaz, and welcome back to another Warframe video. So we got another episode this week in Warframe. We're going over the entire weekly reset, and yes, the final weekly reset of 2024. Hope you guys have been enjoying these videos throughout the year. I'll be making them every week in 2025 as well, so appreciate all the support, guys. Let's get right into it. We got the new calendar buffs, the new summer season of 1999 starting, and a whole lot more. If you do like these types of videos, again, we make them on a weekly basis. Also, come by the live stream channel where we're doing these missions live on stream with people from chat. All right, your first weekly reset item is going to be a Teshin, a shotgun ribbon for 75 steel essence. He's also going to have Kuva and relics down here, but that didn't show up yet because it takes a couple minutes after reset, honestly. As far as other things going on in Warframe this week, yeah, we do have that big resurgence event going on, so make sure you grab some of that stuff if you haven't already. But additionally, since we have this new I almost called it Nightwave, this new 1999 calendar season, it actually changes the Eximus spawns in 1999 tile set, but it seems like it might be bugged breaking the entire game. So expect lots of fire Eximus this week. And like you might notice last week, there was a ton of Jade Eximus spawning. There's a ton of Arson Eximus spawning this week, and then next week will be Energy Eximus for fall, and then Ice Eximus for the winter season in 2 weeks. So keep that in mind once we go over the calendar buffs. But for the Dorma Zone stuff here, we had some really good Dorma Zone stuff last week, and it definitely toned it out a bit this week, but we do have an Archon reactor for 20 Pathos, and before someone says, why would you waste Pathos on this, I'm going to let you know that if you buy these with Nightwave creds, they're extremely overpriced for Nightwave creds, and Nightwave creds are finite, Pathos clamps are infinite. So that's why I'd say buy this with Pathos clamps and don't buy it with Nightwave creds before anyone is confused by that. But yeah, we got a Archon reactor for 20 Pathos, an Exos adapter for 20 Pathos as well, 5k for 10 Pathos, a pistol ribbon, a guaranteed ribbon over here for 15 Pathos, and a Forma blueprint for 10 Pathos as well. So not the best stuff at that store, but still some pretty decent stuff, especially with how it's not finite amount of resources like Nightwave creds to get those reactors. Alright, but now we've gone over that stuff that I don't really care about as much. Let's go over the stuff I really, really care about. The new calendar reset buffs. Alright, so let's start off with our new calendar buffs. So if you didn't do the ones from last week or the week before that, you could no longer progress those. It's a new week. So all these buffs from the last 2 weeks, they do carry over, but they will go away at the end of the year. So like, end of the air quotes year. So after 2 more weeks, these buffs will go away. But let's see what buffs we got as options this week, okay? So for your first challenge, kill 250 Scaldra, pretty straightforward. And you got Aui's birthday after that. And a guaranteed red shard or 2 new arcanes from the update as your first option. Go for the guaranteed red shard, I'd say. Now for your first set of buffs here, we've got some pretty decent looking options here. So as far as the first one, you've got Arthur's no quarter buff, giving a melee attack speed on all melees. That works on 1999 missions only, but this can help with, whatever melee weapon you're using. Next buff, okay, well, that's a pretty easy one to choose. Power gains from Aoi, another 25% power strength. Now, these do stack together, guys. So if you pick this one and you picked it last week as well, like I did, I will go to 50% power strength instead of 25%. So it's like doubling up on the buff. So think about that one if you already have that, or just go for it, Joe, because 25% power strength is very good. And for the last buff, got your back from Eleanor, giving Spectres and Companions increased damage. This was also a buff on the first week, so you could actually have this double stack for 500% damage if you picked that on the first week. So either way, really good on the first level. Wow, these are usually like the high level, final tier buffs, but we got them in the first level this week. Next challenge after that, kill 300 Scaldra troops with melees. And your options after that will be either 6,000 Endo or an Arcane from the new update. Really going to be up to you because those aren't the best rewards either way. Moving on to your next challenge, get 150 Tech Rock kills with melee. And after that, your bonus will be either a guaranteed Riven, that's kind of cool, or an Axeless Weapon adapter. So I'd probably go for the Riven there personally. And then after that, you have to kill 150 containers, and you'll get either 6k Kuva or 2 Arcanes. And then the next buff will be some new ones for sure. Okay, so we got the first one with Arthur, Heavy Javelin. Heavy melee attacks trigger Radial Javelin with 3-meter range and 1,000 damage scaling both with combo. What? Heavy melee attack triggers Radial Javelin? Does that work on heavy slams? Oh man, we gotta try that one out for sure. The range is 3 meters. It scales with combo. So I wonder, do you get 3 meters per combo multiplier? Because that'd be like a 30-meter Wow, okay. Might actually finally take an Arthur buff now. Next one, Sharing is Caring. For Owie. Every 10th ability cast makes the next one free for yourself and your allies. That's interesting. Not as crazy sounding as the first one, but a pretty decent buff. Every 10 abilities. And then the last one for this tier, Hex Override Friendly Fallout. Attacks from specters and companions have a 25% chance to cause a radiation status effect. That one sounds okay, but I think that we can all say safely that the first one, Heavy Javelin, sounds extremely ridiculous, and I have to try that one out for sure. But yeah, as far as the other two options, they sound pretty powerful too. And for your final tier of loot here, your final reward upgrades, your challenges will be 500 ability kills. And after that, you can get either a guaranteed 3-day affinity booster or a Orokin Reactor blueprint. So lots of Orokin Reactors up for grabs this week. Then destroy one tank as a challenge right here. And if you beat that tank, you can either get an Arcane or a secondary adapter. And let's see these final buffs. How can they beat that second Radial Javelin one, right? Okay, we've got Broaden Horizons. On energy orb pickup, increase range by 10% for 10 seconds. Now, if you remember the last couple of weeks, we've actually had this buff appear 3 times now. So if you pick that all 3 times, you get 30% range for picking up an orb. Now, I only went for that buff once, but still pretty cool. I could double stack it technically. Let's see what these other two are. Punch card for Quincy, giving all weapons 1.5 meters. Oh, sorry, not every weapon. Primaries get 1.5 meters of punch through built in. 1.5, that's like a prime shred kind of. So not super crazy, but still probably better than 10% range. And then the last buff, oh my gosh. Harden up buff from Amir. Increase overshield cap by 50%. Kills give 50 shields. Oh my gosh. If you know what shield gating is, this is basically on kill, you are going to be immune for 0.5 seconds. So this is a crazy good one if you are playing high-level missions. Not to mention, the overshield being increased can be nice for certain frames like Hildred or whatever. So really, really good buffs this week. As far as the strongest ones from I'm immediately reading here, I'm thinking power gains on the first one for increased power strength. The Radial Heavy Javelin sounded too crazy good not to try out, but Sharing is Caring and Friendly Fallout sounded pretty decent too. And for the final tier buffs, it's got to be Hardened Up or Broaden Horizons. Actually, all 3 of these sound pretty good, but I'm going with Hardened Up for some easy shield gate on kill. But Punch card for built-in punch through on primaries or increased range is also pretty good stuff too. So either way, guys, that's going to be your calendar buffs. Let's go look at the EDA and Incarnons now, so we can go over the rest of the loot you might be interested in this week. So yeah, that calendar buff stuff is going to last for 1 week. If you don't grind that stuff out this week, you will not have access to those challenges next week or those buffs. So yeah, if you want those buffs to stick around for the whole month, go do those before, next week at this time, pretty much. But let's just go take a peek at the EDA. Still the best source for Tau shards in the game, as far as drop rate and amount of items received. Okay, so here we are at the EDA. If you want to access this mission, you require rank 5 with a caveat syndicate. Okay, we got Mere Defense, Survival, and Alchemy. As far as the missions, yeah, this is going to be a long EDA. You got long missions here. But you got Mere Defense in the first one. Each glyph inflicts a small amount of damage, deals a small amount of damage when grabbed, so careful about that. Second modifier, Bold Venture. Enemies deal less damage and take increased damage, but also increase movement, attack speed, and fire rate. Basically a non-modifier. Enemies, and then the last one for the first mission is Myopic Muse. Enemies only take damage within 15 meters of a player. So that part might be a little bit annoying, but just a pretty straightforward near defense at that point. But a good thing it's on the first step, so if you fail, you won't have to waste that much time. Second mission, Survival. With the modifiers, Parasitic Towers. Life support towers only activate when 20 enemies are killed within a 15-meter radius of them. Certain rooms in the EDA Survival tile set are really bad with this modifier, so if you're playing in a full squad and people are wandering around, this might be like no life support towers for you. So just be aware of that. Try to corral your teammates near a life support tower so they can kill enemies nearby it. Because if you don't, you're going to be relying on other sources of life support, which is not really the best way to do it. Second modifier, Hostile Regeneration. Enemies slowly regenerate their health. Not too big of a deal. Your main issue here will be life support, not enemies tankiness. And the last one, Alluring Archonids. Dog robots will pull Warforms towards them as they charge their attacks. And for the final mission, Alchemy, everyone's favorite, you got the first modifier as Eximus and Fours. The grenades will only drop from Eximus enemies, so be aware of that. This modifier can cause frame drop sometimes. Just be really, really wary of that, because it is the final mission, too. Second modifier, Fortified Foes. Guardian Eximus units may be encountered, including Guardian Eximus mechs. And Entanglement, the last modifier. If you are near a dead enemy, you will have reduced parkour velocity and movement speed. And as far as your personal modifiers, you got Knife Step Syndrome, dealing health while moving. Jumping will pause the effect. Frame Curse Syndrome, casting ability will deal damage to you. Fractured Armor, casting ability will also reduce your armor. And Gear Embargo, no elite on calls or gear items are allowed to be used. So yeah, a pretty long EDA, but the modifiers weren't that bad, all things considered. So bring like some kind of healer or something. Use a, if you don't have Gear Embargo activated, use some kind of Ancient Healer Spectre in the near defense as well. For your Bird 3 Archon Shard, you got a Azure Archon Shard. That's also going to require rank 5 with a Syndicate to get access to those items. Alright, let's move on to the Archon Hunt and the Incarnons, because this week's some really top-tier Incarnons that you might want to get if you want to be a meta player in Warframe. Alright, but first starting off with the Archon Hunt, you got the Owl Archon, and as far as the mission types, Exterminate, Defense, and the final boss showdown. Pretty fast one, besides this middle mission being really slow. I've got Mirage Power Strength and Comorex Damage. Ooh, Siam as well. Moving on to the EDA and, or not the EDA, the circuit. We've got the normal circuit here with Garuda, Baruch, and Hildred. These are 3 frames, all from Fortuna, and Baruch comes from the Vox Solaris, which requires rank 5. For parts, Garuda comes from normal Fortuna bounties, probably the easiest of the bunch to farm, and Hildred is definitely the most annoying of the bunch to farm, requiring you to farm the Exploiter Orb, which is the big, like, blue-green spider. But I want to let you know, if you do pick Hildred here to skip, air quotes, skip the farm for the Exploiter Orb, you will still need the Lazulite Toroids to build her, so you'll be required to farm the Exploiter Orb regardless. So, that being said, whenever one sounds like a farm you want to dodge, you want to dodge a good chunk of Exploiter Orb farming, pick Hildred. Do you want to dodge using rep for Baruch parts on the Vox Solaris, to go for that? Do you want to skip doing a bunch of bounties? Get Garuda. I would say the most annoying of the bunch is going to be Hildred, but do keep in mind that, like I said, you need those Lazulite Toroids to build her. 2 Lazulite Toroids for that part. It's 6 Lazulite Toroids total, and I think the spider drops like 1 or 2 of them, so you need to farm the spider a couple times regardless, but that's just how Hildred is, so maybe just go by Hildred Prime instead. By the way, that's going to be your option for normal frames. Now for Incarnons this week, we have some of the best weapons in the entire game available. It's going to be a pretty hard decision on which one you want to go for, but hopefully I can help you make the decision here. But reminder too, if you haven't played in a while, you can get Kuva or Rivens instead of Incarnon if you prefer that. Alright, so let's review all of these and show what their use case is. So we've got the Lex Incarnon, Magistar Incarnon, Boltor Incarnon, Bronco Incarnon, and the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon. Now, as far as what these all do, the Lex Incarnon is a very hard-hitting semi-auto pistol, and the Incarnon form from headshots, it becomes an Archoplasm or like gigantic hitbox projectile. It can clear an entire hallway in one shot. It also has crazy high crit, and it also goes through enemies' bodies too. So you don't have to mod for punch through one, it will go through infinite enemy dead bodies, but it will not shoot through walls, unless you put punch through one after the fact. Additionally, this thing has such good crit and damage, it can one-shot Acolytes extremely easily. So if you look for an Acolyte one-shot gun, look no further. One of the best Acolyte one-shotter guns in the game right here. Critical Parallel gives you tons of crit, and this thing actually has a Forced Impact proc too. So you can use the mod Internal Bleeding or Hemorrhage to make it give a nearly guaranteed slash proc, which is a very hard-hitting slash proc too. So Lex Prime, very high recommendation this week. One of the best pistols in the game. Speaking of the best weapons in the game, we got the Magistar Incarnon here. This thing is basically stapled to my character nowadays. It is one of the best Incarnons in the entire game. Why is it so good? Well, never mind the fact it's the best stat stick for Cora, with its crazy critical parallel perks buffing her Whip Claw, but it's got crazy slam radius too. Seismic Slam gives you increased slam radius, hitting like 20-meter range slam attacks. It's basically like every time you slam attack with this thing, it's a Brahma shot. But a Brahma shot that does like, 100 million red crit damage too. So, definitely go for this one. Now, as far as what the Incarnon form does, it gives you extra initial combo and like heavy attack wind-up speed, but we're basically here to do heavy slams with this thing, or use as a stat stick with Cora. As far as the Sancti Magistar and the normal Magistar has higher crit buffs from this critical parallel, and it has higher Riven stats, but the Sancti Magistar is not a bad choice either, as it provides, I think, AoE healing or something like that on heavy attack. But yeah, most players that want the most damage do end up going for the normal Magistar with a Riven and also the critical parallel perk. But yeah, for me, number one recommendation is meta for lots of stuff. We got the Boltor Incarnon, the next one here. You got the Telos Boltor and the Boltor Prime. Now, I used the Boltor today. The Incarnon is kind of a little bit underwhelming, in my opinion, as far as, comparing it to the best stuff in the game. The Bursted Incarnon, the Torrent Incarnon, etc., etc. This thing falls behind those top-tier guns, but at the end of the day, it's still an Incarnon. Incarnons are still the best guns in all of Warframe. This thing is a slash. It's normally a puncture-focused gun, but when it becomes Incarnon form after some headshots, it becomes a slash-focused multi-shot rifle that can do lots of slash procs. Additionally, if you go for the Boltor Prime, it's got really good status chance. The Telos Boltor has higher crit chance, but the Boltor Prime is a little bit better overall, in my opinion. But yeah, just not as OP as some of the other guns. It's fine for what it is. It's very cool looking, but at the end of the day, it is just not top tier. That being said, it is the only primary this week. So if you want to get a primary this week, it's the only option, so go ahead and grab it then. Moving on to the Bronco. This is probably the lowest recommendation this week, but that being said, it's not like it's a terrible gun. Like I said, every Incarnon is good, technically. This one's just the lowest recommendation this week. Why is it such a low recommendation? The Bronco has a 4-round magazine, sadly, and this thing also has really bad reload speed, too. So it's like, you're firing this thing really fast for your 4-round magazine, then you're reloading it, and the reload takes a while. It's just a lot of downtime, a lot of reloading time. It doesn't feel that great in general gameplay missions, but Bronco Prime is going to be having a special augment mod called Dizzying Rounds that causes enemies to be vulnerable to finishers, and that will work on the Incarnon form here. The Bronco Incarnon, after getting some headshots, will have ricochet on shots, doing AoE damage, basically. Well, not AoE, it's more like chaining damage to nearby enemies. But yeah, with that augment mod, it's AoE finishers, which is kind of cool. And the stats of the Bronco Incarnon are not that bad at all. With Commodore's Fortune getting increased base crit chance, I can get red crits with my Bronco Incarnon, and I actually can one-shot max level enemies too. So go check out my old video on the Bronco Incarnon if you want to see that. By the way, it's the lowest recommendation this week. It's got bad range, a lot of stuff, but it's also still an Incarnon, so it's pretty good. For the last one here, we got the Ceramic Dagger Incarnon. Now, this one is definitely... It's an interesting one for sure. I wouldn't call it the number one recommendation. I'd probably call it the number 2 or 3 recommendation. But this thing is actually very good for getting a bunch of initial combo easily. The Gun and Blade perk, if you watched my Saren video from last month, on primary kill, get initial combo. So if you use your Sobek or you use whatever your primary gun is, this will give you built initial combo on your melee. So you walk around with 100 initial combo just from this. You can throw an initial combo Riven, initial combo mods. You can get to nearly 12x all the time with this weapon. And that being said, there's an arcane called Secondary Outburst. You swap to your secondary from your melee, and you get increased crit chance depending on how much combo you had. So you can always have that buffed with this. It's really, really good. That being said, there's also a new arcane called Arcane Doutry, I think it's called, which gives a ton of crit damage depending on how much puncture you have. This thing is mainly puncture focused, so it's a perfect choice to try on this thing. But at the end of the day, it's still not meta. It's good, but not meta. The Magistar is more meta than this. But it's a really good stat stick for lots of frames too. So someone's got to be the loser, and I think it's going to be the Ceramic Dagger over the Magistar this week. So after all that being said and done, oh, by the way, the way this thing works is it releases Spectral Daggers and heavy attacks for the Incarnon form, but people mainly use it for a stat stick, honestly. After we said all that stuff, what's the number 1, number 2 recommendation this week? Number 1, Magistar. If you have this, you are now a meta player, okay? Go watch my Magistar Slam video, and you will destroy the Steel Path in a massive, probably not even properly balanced AoE. So, really good stuff. It's also the meta for face-off, too. So, number 1, Magistar Incarnon. You can put the Sanctity or the normal. I put on the normal. Sanctity Magistar is totally fine. Number 1 recommendation. Number 2 is going to be up to you. Now that you are going to have this amazing Incarnon Magistar, do you want another Incarnon melee after that? If you do, go for the Ceramic Dagger. It's a great, extremely powerful, versatile option. But for me, I don't usually recommend the 2 of the same type of weapon per week. So I'd say go for the Magistar number 1 and Lex number 2. With that being said, like I indicated before, if you really want to use the Ceramic Dagger for some specific synergy purpose, then maybe go for that as your second one. But I can't in good conscience say 2 melees in a week unless you really, really, really want some new melee stat sticks. So yeah, number 1 Magistar, number 2 Lex. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Let's move on to the Nightwave challenges, so we can go grind out these EDAs and stuff on stream. Okay, so there is no end in sight on the Nightwave, by the way. So they haven't even remotely said there's a new one on the way. So don't rush through this, okay? You got other things to grind out, like the calendar. That's a lot more time limited than this one. But either way, here's our challenges for the Nightwave this week. Forward thinking, destroy a cruise with a forward artillery. So basically the big Yamato cannon on the front of your railjack. Just blast the cruise ship with that, and that's an easy Nightwave rep right there. Venus Miner. Mine rare gems or ore in the Orb Valis. So the red or blue veins will work for this one. First Elite Weekly Antiquarian. Open 1 relic of each era/type, besides Requiem. Lith, Meso, Neo, Axii. Easy Nightwave rep right there. Then the last Elite Weekly. Hold your breath. Complete 20-minute survival on the Kuva Fortress. So Tav Uni on the Kuva Fortress, 20 minutes, easy mode right there. Play Korra or somebody like that. And your permanent weeklies, kill 30 Eximus, complete 15 missions, and kill 500 enemies. All right, time for the Nightwave Store here. Let's see what we got after we resort this stuff. So as I said at the beginning of the video, guys, if you do want to buy these Catalyst and Reactors here, it's 75 Nora creds. Quite a lot of Nora creds for someone that you don't have that much of. So be wary if you're thinking about buying these things for Nora creds here. But you get your evergreen stuff at the top as per usual. We got Archoplasm or Solstice skin. That looks pretty cool. Reminder, we do have a Solstice Akicore skin probably coming out in 2025 because we did the Tenobomb stuff. So some good helmets here regardless. For Aura mods, we got Sniper Scavenger, Rejuvenation, Steel Charge. Make sure you got that one. Holster Amp, which I like a lot, and then also Pistol Scavenger. So as far as which Aura mod you want here the most, Steel Charge gives you more mod capacity than most other Aura mods, so it's a very nice, versatile one. Also gives you melee damage too, which is pretty nice. So if you don't have this, make sure you grab it. And as far as Mastery Fodder, we got the Jaw Sword Normal, the Dark Sword, and the Dark Dagger. You got some Conclave Aug mods like Singularity, Double Tap the Latron, Deceptive Bond for Loki, and Skull Shot to the Viper. Double Tap the Latron is interesting for sure. And I think that's basically your weekly reset, guys. You got the big Resurgence event going on right now, so you have a ton of things you could far out. Now, let's go over my Invigorations. Now, I know some people ask me, why do you cover these in your video? It's more for fun, just to give a little indication of what's going to be happening throughout the week, potentially, for some new videos. We got some crazy big buffs. These are random per player per week. Just because I have Volt, Loki, and Zephyr, nice, doesn't mean that you're going to have Volt, Loki, and Zephyr, and vice versa. So, let's go over what we have. I see Volt here, and Volt is one of the meta frames for face-off, so I'm pretty excited about seeing that. But let's hope the stats are actually good, too. So, hovering over, we've got Sprint Speed and Secondary Damage on Volt. Dang, man, Sprint Speed on Volt is clutch. Well, I guess I'm playing Volt for the rest of the week. Okay, guys, I'm playing Volt next, so I'll be doing that. Now, Secondary Damage, not the most useful for face-off, but hey, it will buff my Akicore technically, too. So, Sprint Speed for increased movement. Now, for Loki, we've got Melee Damage and Armor. Okay. Don't really need armor on Loki, but still pretty decent. Kind of wish that was like Kalervo or somebody else. And for the final one on Zephyr, whoa, melee crit chance on Zephyr ain't too bad. And also immune to status effects. Okay, cool. Those are pretty decent ones, not the most OP. But I'll take that Volt and that Zephyr one for sure. So that's basically it for the video, guys. Hope you found it fun and helpful. I will see you on stream right after this video goes up. I'm actually live right now, so come on, stop by. And you guys have a great weekend. Good luck with those buffs, guys. Peace.